Hey, hey, hey. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I'm so glad y'all here. I'm running a little behind, so we're gonna get dressed together today. At any rate, child, when I was first in engineering, I would always just be focused on what was going on in the future. And there would always be these tenured employees. The average tenure where I was working was 28 years. And they would regularly come to me and say, hey, well, I want to just let you know how we used to do it in the past, or the way we used to do it in the past was this. And whenever I heard the past, I would be like, oh God, don't nobody want to hear that. Because my personality is such that I want to think about the future. I want to create something new. I want to think about what's next. I am not designed by nature to be thinking about what has happened. But here's the problem when you don't think about what has happened. I remember one day in particular, we had made a huge change to our manufacturing process. And when we did, we didn't think about what was going to happen to the folks who were getting the work after us. It was just making our work more efficient. Well, I had been told by some of the older employees, they were like, listen, whenever you want to make a change, you probably want to bring somebody in from the plant that's receiving your work. Because if you don't, there might be a downstream problem that you don't think about. So, to just put it in basic terms, if you think about going to a river and picking up trash every day, and every day you go, there's more and more trash, there's probably somebody upstream who putting trash in the river. And unless you talk to that person about putting less trash in the river, you ain't never gonna solve the problem. And so when I think about in 1999, my son 24 years old, when Columbine happened, he was one. And I remember, and I can't believe this is happening to me because I remember when I used to think, man, why are people always bringing up the past? Now that I've gotten older and I'm closer to 50 than I am 40, what I know is that people bring up the past because they done lived through it and they know what works, what don't work. So anyway, child, that year when Columbine happened, we talked about the victims. We were so concerned about what was happening to them. We were thinking about what needed to occur to prevent it from happening again. But what's going on now? I want you to pay attention to the conversations we having now. And by the way, you might be concerned about why I'm not talking about former President Donald John Trump. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Anyway, so what's happening now that I think is very interesting is that we're talking about the trash. We're talking about the trash pickup. We're not talking about anymore what does it look like to stop the trash from getting in the river to begin with. So I was watching the news and I noticed that they were talking to the ambulance folks and about their response time. They were talking to the 911 operators. When we learned that it was 14 minutes for the police officers to get there, we know to the minute, maybe sometimes even to the second, what it has looked like for um, the police officers to respond. Listen, all of that is picking up the trash on the down end side of this thing. All of it. All of it. And none of it focused on root cause problem solving analysis, which is going upstream and trying to figure out how to get less trash in the system. I wrote um, a new book. I think I told you about it, called Spark the Heart, and where I talk about this concept called psychic numbing. We are now at, what is it, 102 school shootings for the year, and most people don't even know about them. They're not even registering that so many of them are happening. And so my question is, if we understand root cause problem solving analysis, we know how to prevent things from happening. And in some ways, I could say I've studied leadership to the highest level possible, doctoral degree. And we know in leadership that you don't put somebody in the highest level of leadership that doesn't have emotional intelligence. And here's what I mean: the ability to understand their emotions, label their emotions, express in private their emotions, and then regulate their emotions so they can show up with some gravitas and some decent sense in front of everybody else. You wouldn't let someone like President Donald John Trump lead your school. You wouldn't let somebody like President Donald John Trump lead your church. You wouldn't let somebody like President Donald John Trump lead your house. And all for all the reasons that are associated with your values. And so why did we think there wasn't going to be no negative consequences for letting President Donald John Trump lead our nation. You see, you got to look at the input. What are the root cause problems? Because people say to me, I don't know what is going on with the world. People are just rude and upset and on edge. And what did you think was going to happen? The leader sets the culture. And the same is true related to all of these guns. Now, I've said a million times. Those of y'all who have been following me forever, I got AR-15s and I've got handguns and I got pistols and I got semi-automatic weapons. I got all the things. And yet, you shouldn't have all the things. I got all the things because I could not believe. I said, there's no possible way that you can go get a weapon and it'd be easier than it is to get a puppy. I've adopted a puppy once. I was in that place for 2 hours. They wanted to make sure that the house was going to be right, that we knew how to feed the puppy, that we was going to take care of the immunizations for the puppy. They wanted to know all the things. This gun, they was like, let me see your. In fact, for the most dangerous weapon I have, I didn't even go get it myself. I didn't even get it myself. You can ship ammunition to your house. I mean, ain't that trash being put into the river upstream? And I don't want you to miss this, sugars, because I told you I'm late. I got to get out of here. We talking about how long it takes to respond to the shooting. We watching videos about how we take down a shooter. We ain't spending hardly no time at all thinking about how we prevent the shooting. How do we keep things out of the hands of folks? Whenever you get a free moment, go to Wikipedia and just look at school shootings over time. You can listen, they've been happening since the 16th century or 17th century. And you can see what the pivot was when Columbine happened in 1999. And all I'll tell you is this, sugar. We're going to learn pleasantly or painfully. And I remember my grandma, Omadale Price, saying to me very clearly, keep living, baby. And I've lived just long enough to see us repeat problems that we had previously solved. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got plenty of work to do.